Good morning, happy Monday, and welcome to the SHAC. She's back. Come on in. My name's Barbara Gray from Clarity, and I'm here to keep you company for at least an hour. And I was going to tell you all about where I've been for the last week in the woods. So come on in and let's see if we've got any friends. I know that our friend Paul Church is in the room with yourself. So if you have any questions, then I'm sure he'll be happy to answer them. And I am going to tell you all about what Dave and I got up to last week when we were away for a week, as if you didn't already know. So let me just see where our friends, I'm not seeing any. Just bear with me 1 second because I'm not seeing. Let me just see. Here he is, Clive. Okay, good morning. Come on in. I know that there are more friends here. I know you are there. What a lovely weekend we've had. The weather's been absolutely gorgeous. Come on in. Hi, Debbie. Good to have your company too. And if you're wondering why I'm sitting so low, it's because I'm sitting on something very special. And I wanted to show you. So I brought it. It looks like I might be on my chair. You're absolutely right. I brought it with me to show you where I've been for the last week. Hi, Ken. Good to have your company too. Yeah, so let a few friends find us first. I'm early to the party. And then it's very comfortable, I have to tell you. Oh, she just kicked the bucket. We had the best week last week. And I think there were so many different positives to be had from the week away. And yeah, sure, we went and made a chair. That's what we did. Dave and I took a week out. It was a Christmas present to each other last Christmas, and it came round. So there we are, you know. Happy birthday, Jackie. Is it Jackie Cooling's birthday? Bon anniversaire, my dear. Am I sitting on the chair? I am, Nahid. Yeah. And it doesn't wobble. I know. So I wanted to show it to my friends in the shack, and not to show off, but just to show you what we're capable of, us women. You know, there was a group of 10, 9 guys, 1 girl, and it wasn't about. It was interesting. It was interesting because you would think, I mean, axes and lathes and pole lathes and chisels, and it was a very physical job, absolutely. And I'm still feeling it. Really am, you know. But it wasn't so much about brute strength. It was more about technique, you know. The only time I got really stressed was when we were sculpting the seat. And I was doing it wrong. I thought I had to hack away at it, but actually the tool, which is, I think it's it looks like a hammer, but it's got a claw in it. And it was so heavy, you just had to let it drop into the seat and it did the job for you. So, you know, it was great to be in the woods. It was great to be with Dave. There was no internet, no telephones, no electricity. This was all done by hand. There was absolutely no machinery involved at all. And we literally started with logs of wood. That was it. That's where we started. And Dave kept saying, from tree to chair, Barbara, you know. And you have to kind of remember that you started out with a log of wood, you know, and then you had to, I mean, I spent the first half hour of the first day trying to figure out whether I was left-handed or right-handed, you know. I couldn't. There you go. I thought this isn't going to go well. Because you get this log of wood and then you've got to cut it into 3 equal parts, right? For three of the legs. You make 6 for the stretchers and all sorts, right? But so you've got a log like that, and then you have to cut it, and you draw rings on the top, and then you have to axe it into 3 equal parts, and then you start to have to turn it on a pole lathe, which is like a lathe. You will have seen them at craft shows where they've got a bit of elastic, and your leg goes up and down and up and down, and it turns the wood on the spindle, and then you have a chisel and you have to just work away at it. On day 1, I wasn't very good at it. By day 3, I had it like that. It's amazing. You know, I always say, do it, then walk away, and then come back, and you'll find it's greatly improved. Oh, it was absolutely insane, right? By day 6, we did a little bit more on the lathe, and I was just whizzing through with the, you know, what had been very difficult on day 1 was very achievable by day 6. So that was really uplifting. And yeah, on day 1, I couldn't work out whether to hold the axe with the left hand and then use the mallet with the right hand, or hold the axe with the right hand and use the mallet with the left hand. So I was standing there like a zombie trying to figure out whether I was left or right. He said, "You having a problem?" I said, "I'm just trying to work out whether I'm left or right-handed." What? You know? Do you want to see me chair? Okie dokie. Right, let me show you. So this is my offering. It's not finished. It still needs oiling. It needs a bit of chiseling. We didn't use sandpaper. Sandpaper's a dirty word in the woods, right? So we didn't use sandpaper at all. So it was all done with planing, refining. But this is my chair. There you go. See? So you get this bucket seat. I made a bit of a rod for my own back because I sculpted it. So I wanted it to be really sort of comfy. So I really went for it on the bucket, you see. And then the problem is, once you've sculpted it like that, then you have to get these bits out. Otherwise, you know, you sunk into it. So this was a bit of a challenge, but it came out. It's lovely and smooth. Dave said, he said, "You wouldn't want to sit on mine with tights on." He said, "You have splinters in your arse." I said, "It's not finished yet, Dave. Give it a chance." So, and we made 2 almost identical chairs with gaps here, which was what the course chair was. We just stuck to the course chair really, and this stretcher here is a great story about the stretcher, right? So remember I said I was kind of quite meticulous. Okay, I learned a lot about myself. Nice, huh? And I'm not showing you for a pat on the back. I'm showing you because I was so excited to just share it with you, you know. But you learn a lot about yourself on these courses, like a bit of an endurance course, you know. And you learn about how you behave in a group. So for me, right, I'm usually the teacher, aren't I? I'm the bus driver. I'm the one at the front. I'm the one with the chat. And so it was very interesting to see what I was like when I was the learner. Okay. I mean, I do other courses, but usually they're online. They're not physical courses in the woods, in the middle of nowhere with 9 other blokes, right? That's not, you know, in fact, there were more chaps than that because, of course, the teachers were. There was one other girl, lovely girl, called India, who was one of the assistants, one of the helpers. And she was very, you know, and I watched how gently she worked. And I thought, yeah, you see, it's about technique. It's not about brute force. So if you're a woman, you too can be a bodger. Did you know that a chair maker, like a beautiful chair, Windsor chair maker, is called a bodger? I know. So I left the woods after 6 days. I felt like printing myself out a certificate, and Dave, saying we are bodgers. I always thought I was a bit of a bodger. And so talking about the group dynamics, you know, what was really, does this interest you? I hope it does. It was interesting to see how I was in a group, you know, in group dynamics. I wasn't the one at the front. I wasn't the one forging ahead. I wasn't the super achiever. I wasn't the one that asked all the questions or the needy one. There's always a needy one, isn't there? No, I wasn't the needy one. There was a needy one. And he started getting on my pip after day 3. He was a lovely fella, but he did need a lot of attention. And I wanted to say to him, just listen, you know, listen to what the teacher's saying. But I thought it's none of my business, really. And it was as if my dad was with me, because all the time in my ear, measure twice, cut once, measure twice, cut once. I could just hear my dad on my shoulder, because he was a precision tool maker, you see, that was his trade before he became an engineer. And he just kept saying, I could just hear him on my shoulder. I could feel my dad, really, you know. And so what happened was, I was, always want to talk about dad. I was slower than the others. And not because I was a woman, because I was physically weaker. It had nothing to do with it. I was slower because I was being more careful. I didn't, you know, it wasn't a piece of paper. It was the stretcher. If the stretcher was too short, that was it then. Your stretcher was cooked. You couldn't use it for firewood, right? So I was very aware that we didn't have spares. You know, it wasn't like, oh, well, that didn't work, I'll get another bit of paper. It wasn't like that, you know. You had 4 legs and that was what you had. Do you know what I mean? So if you screwed a leg up, you were making a milking stool. So I was very, very aware of that. And so the reason that I was dragging weed and bringing up the rear all the time was because I was very careful and very meticulous. And so I would measure it. And it wasn't that I wasn't sure of myself either. I would measure it, and then I'd go and look at what Dave had done, because he's very good. He's a naturally kind of, he's a natural. Okay, let's just say that. So then I'd go and have a look what Dave had done to make sure I was doing the right thing. And then I'd go and measure it again. Then I'd go and size it up. So when you're turning, it had to be like to the millimeter, really, right? Or at least to the not to the ½ inch. Okay, you're talking about to the millimeter. So you'd turn it, take it, shave a little bit more, shave a little bit, take it out, size it up. Now it's shave, and another revolution. Do you see what I mean? And so I was going on, off, on the jig, off the jig, on the jig, off the jig, on the lathe, off the lathe, on the lathe, off the lathe, checking. Because you go too far, you can't put it back. You know what we always say? You can always add it, but you can't take it away. So that was what was going on, you understand? And at one point, there was this smashing people as well on the course, just lovely fellas, you know, just really nice. And there was one in particular that Dave and I really bonded with, a chap called Jim from Brighton. Just a nice guy, just a smashing bloke, our age, you know. Tattoos right up to here. Turns out he's a really like world-renowned tattoo artist. Didn't know that. He was just a normal bloke, you know, but we gravitated towards each other, definitely. And we helped each other. And what I found, you know, apart from learning loads about how to make a Windsor chair, right? And the reason they're called Windsor chairs is because back in the day, Windsor was the place in England where most of the chairs were made. That's why. And Jason, the teacher, was telling us, you know, they would churn out hundreds of thousands of chairs a year out, you know, all the bodgers lived in Windsor. Yeah, it was brilliant, really. But what I felt was, apart from learning about something that I went into having no clue about any of it. Right, I didn't know anything about chair making. I just went in with an open mind. You know, like when you come on my workshops and you say, what do I have to bring? And I say, just bring an open mind. That's all you need to bring, you know. And that was it. I listened. That was the other thing. I listened very carefully, and I measured everything twice before I cut. Mm-hmm. But I wasn't a nuisance. I wasn't, oh, how'd you do this? It wasn't one of those. I just, and if I did, and it was interesting, if I wasn't sure what I was doing, I just went really quiet. And it was so, for me, what it did was, it made me think of all the people, all you guys that do my workshops, and all your personalities and the way you all as individuals approach your artwork, you know, and some of you go galloping ahead and then you screw it up, which is exactly what was happening to the needy person in this group, you know, because he wasn't listening. He was just going gallop, 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 cut. Got it wrong. Well, there you go, you know. But he was a smashing bloke. He just didn't listen. And then, and so it was really fascinating for me psychologically to consider all my tribe, my friends, you people, and how, you know, I know each of you, like Ken, I know how he's a little bit like me, measure twice, cut once. He's another one and that's why he's always a bit slower than others, not because he's slow, but because he's cautious like I was, you know. And that's why Ken's work's always brilliant. It's just he watches and so it was really interesting, the dynamics. And then the group dynamics. And then there were a couple of guys, one in particular, total perfectionist. Like, he did not enjoy that 6 days. He didn't, you know, he was so stressed and uptight because he wanted to get it right. He was just desperate to get it right, you know. I understand that. You know, the course costs a lot of money. I mean, we spent a lot of money doing these chairs. You know, it would have been cheaper to go and buy a chair. A handmade chair, but that's not the point, you know. But I watched this fella as well, you know, observational skills, and I was watching this chap, and he was so stressed because he wanted so badly to be perfect, and that's a lot of pressure. And then I thought about you guys and you know how we are, and how some of you are so nervous about getting it wrong, you know. And Dave and I, maybe on the first day I was a bit nervous because I realised I've only got 4 sticks to make these legs out of. Well, no, I had one log, and you know, you can't go back, it takes too long. So maybe but once I realised that, you know, that I always say, oh, it's the journey, not the destination. Yeah. Well, once I came to terms with that, the word was acceptance, right? Just trust the process, listen. It was brilliant because it's what I'm always saying to you when you come to my workshops. And I was having to teach myself to do that, to trust the process, listen, measure twice, cut once, right? Focus. And don't take myself so seriously. That was the point. Dave and I had so much fun. We laughed, and we were kind of, because I'm lefty, I was at the end, you see, because the pole lathe has to be set up differently for a left-handed person. So bye Ken. So I was at the end because I was the lefty in the group, right? And then Dave was next to me. So what was brilliant was that we were kind of at the end, we were working together. I wasn't sandwiched among a load of people. I was at the end where the kettle was. And when I say kettle, there was no electricity. There was no running water. Okay. There was a loo, like, what do they call it? Like a long drop from like Glastonbury. Yeah, there was a loo, not even a porter cabin, dug out, but it was nice. It was one of my favourite spots because it was like a little cabin and it was right in the trees. It was very private, and because they were all blokes, they used the woods. So I had my own little toilet, and you're right, and you could see all the trees. It was a really nice, peaceful spot. So I was where the kettle well, where the open fire was, right? So Jason, the teacher, he would just keep, the kettle was this great big black wrought iron kettle, and the tea was going and the coffee was going. And how he did it, I don't know. But every lunchtime, he rustled up an excellent vegetarian, he's a veggie, vegetarian meal for us. It was superb food, you know, really quite something. And it all came off this great big open fire. So I was up that end, and with Dave. So our lathes were up there, our toolkits were up there, we were up that end. And there was a lot of laughter at our end, I tell you, a lot of laughter. I made crumble every day, like big pans of German apple crumble, then plum crumble, then apple crumble, then plum crumble. Not on the first day, because I wanted to gauge I wanted to suss out the situation first. You don't turn up with a cake if you don't know who you're dealing with, do you? So the first day I just went and watched and got the lay of the land. Do you understand? And then the second day I thought, oh yeah, now they love apple crumble. So we got the guards and apples. Dave went and picked the apples off our tree. And then we made a lovely German apple crumble. And it's one of those ones you don't need a spoon. You can eat it. It's like slab cake. Lovely. So I made that so day 2 we had that. Day 3 we had plums. The guy said, oh, where did you get your plums from? Morrison's. We haven't got plum trees. So then I was alternating. Day 3 for us was a challenge, because that was where we were sculpting that seat that I made a bit of a rod for my own shoulder with, right? So day 4 they didn't get a crumble, because honestly I couldn't even clean my teeth at the end of day 3. My arms and my little hands, my nails got wrecked somehow. So day 3 was a bit of a challenge. Day 3 was the day where Dave struggled with his arthritis and I was struggling with my shoulders, but we kept swapping. I did the bits that Dave was struggling with. He had trouble gripping, and then he did the bits that I was struggling with because I had trouble hacking. So we just chopped and changed, literally. Got there. We've all got a seat that works, you know. So there was a lot of camaraderie as well, people. And I found when at the end of I was watching myself, my instinct, you know, how I was in the group. And I was, you know, if we all come to a group, you have a needy person, a not listening person. I was the helper. I was the one who tried to help people when they were struggling, you know, tried to, if I could see that he needed another pair of hands. Sometimes you just need another pair of hands to hold something while the other person can knock it into place or something. I said, you need another pair of hands just to help? Yes, please. You know, and maybe because I was a bit of a mother figure, you know, with the plum crumble and the old woman in the corner. I didn't see myself like that, but they probably did. And so we got on really, really well, you know, and yeah, it was really great. And there were a couple that, you know, that saw it more as a competition. You know, I always say to you, there are no judges and this is not a competition. There were a couple of the blokes that decided it was. And whether they had as good a time as we did, I don't know, and I don't care. But their chairs didn't look any different to mine when they were finished. They were just finished sooner. It was brilliant. Honestly, it was great. So so that was that. That was our week in the woods. It was great team dynamics. The teacher was amazing. The ambiance was just to be out in nature, like with no electricity, no phone, no internet, no business, no work. I can't tell you, when was the last time that I didn't have a phone attached to my ear or in my hand, a smartphone, you know, because I run my business off this. You know, this is my brain, really. And the only thing I used it for was photos. I took some nice photos. And even that I didn't go over the top, because I was so immersed in what we were doing, you know. It was just amazing. Really amazing. It's not for the faint-hearted. It's not for the faint-hearted. And I still as stiff as a board. I'm still as stiff as a board. But it was worth it. It was so worth it. And to come away with a nice chair, that's the bonus, to be fair. That's the icing on the cake for me. But the experience was the magic. It was so cool. And would I do it again? Dave and I, I was full of euphoria when we left. I was like, oh, I want to do it again. I want to do it again. The next day, Dave, he said, I don't know whether I want to do it again, because he felt it was battering for somebody with extreme arthritis. It takes its toll, and we travel as a team. So if Dave is reticent, then I tuck in behind Dave and say, that's okay. He said, maybe we could make a footstool. I said, Jason does those courses too. It'd be lovely just to have the experience of being in the woods again for a week, really, But I spotted the perfectionist. He didn't have time. I spotted the super achievers. They didn't. I don't think they got as much out of it as we did because they were trying to prove something, They went home with a chair, but they didn't have that total immersion experience. It was really, really a good thing for me to do as a teacher, And if you do my courses, if you come to my retreats, like the one in November, after the open days, I hope that you do come, I think I'll be a better teacher for having been a learner for 6 days, So there you go. And now we get to finish our doodle. So if you recall, I know we got to put closure to this one. These kachinas are starting to drag on a bit, aren't they? And I want to get to the Christmas stuff. I did get a blister. I did get a bit of a blister, but I think it's because I kept my wedding ring on. My brother said that's because you kept your ring on. But I did, yeah, that makes sense. I left my wedding ring on, but I took this one off. And I guess that's what happens. So I got a bit of a blister there, but it's all right. It's all right. Listen, there was plenty of blood and blisters and cuts. I saw plenty of the guys with plasters on reaching for the first aid kit. We got away with it. That was another reason you're working with razor sharp tools. You only have to take your mind off it for a split second. I have my favorite tools. I really like the draw knife. So you sit on this, it's like a horse, right? And your feet push and clamp like the spindle. And then you've got this draw knife that you pull towards yourself. And we were making these listen to me as if I knew what I was talking about. Faceted spindles. So in other words, you'd know exactly what I mean. So you've got a round, right? And then you make 4 squares. So the end is now, you're only doing half of it. So you're pulling the knife towards yourself. And now you've got a square, right? Then what you do is you turn it 45 degrees and you go again 4 times. Now you've got an octagon. Then you reintroduce the square, then you reintroduce the octagon, and you keep going until you've got loads and loads and loads. So it's faceted, you see? And it's got thinner and thinner and thinner as you've done it. Then you turn it around and do the same thing from the other end. That's how you do the spindles, these bits. If you look really closely, you'll see they've got little tiny, they're not round because they're not done by machine, you see. And what was I saying? My favorite machine. Yeah, razor sharp, right? So this is this old draw knife and you pull it towards yourself and you sit on this horse and you clamp the spindle and then you pull, right? And that was where a couple of people caught themselves on, because you're holding 2 wooden handles, you don't realize that little knife underneath is really sharp. It must be to be able to just, this is ash, by the way. I made mine out of ash. Anyway, And there were a couple of casualties there. You've got to keep your eye on those blades and have respect for the tools. And I came away thinking as well, just deducing, like, the secret is the sharpness of the tools. If you're working with blunt tools, you're on a hide into nowhere. And I reckon there must be a whole other workshop just on how to keep your tools sharp, Yeah, so that was fascinating, friends. It was just, that expression, all work and no play makes Tom a dull boy, or something like that, right? If all I'm doing is peddling at clarity, my horizon gets smaller and smaller. Doesn't matter how creative I am, I need stimulus. You do too. We need stimulus, and television isn't it, and so to go into the woods and have no distraction and make a chair, that's so much more interesting than anything I've done for a while. Do you see? It was like when Sam and I went to America. Stimulus overload. It will take me years to process. Funny enough, Sam wrote to me the other day and she said, I'm only now beginning to realise how much we did, And I said, I know. It was immense. It was so much stimulus. It's almost like saturation. You have to kind of peel it back like an onion, a layer at a time, and which is what we're doing here, Anyway, I'm going on. Let's take a look at, let's take a look at the kachinas, my Hopi Indian kachinas. So if you remember, we drew a few of these, didn't we? And then we transferred them to watercolor paper, yeah. And then I took some of that liquid masking fluid, liquid frisket or masking fluid, and we painted over it, remember? And then when it's dry, we painted with our watercolor paints to make a really nice, let me see if I can show you. See if it comes in a bit closer. And then we rubbed away the frisket and the paint. This is one of the reasons why we use the masking fluid with watercolor paint, because it doesn't seep in, right? Because you're using water, you'd think that it would bleed in, wouldn't you? So what I did last time we were together, I did the same thing, but this time it was on our stencil card, because I said, well, let's try the stencil card, and then I thought I'll try something else, and I'll use the frisket, and I thought, how about we use ink pads and brushes for the background? So I thought we'd do that this morning, give that a go, and then we'll reintroduce the drawing into the watercolor one, right? So that there is gone. So learning. What I found was when I rubbed away the operative word being rubbed, when I rubbed away the frisket or the liquid masking fluid, it took all the pencil away with it. So all the inside, like all the drawings where we'd transferred, hang on, let's have a look. Which one was it? That one. Where we'd used the tracing paper to transfer all the different elements, when I rubbed away, that was all gone, see? So what we've got to do is reintroduce that. We need a pencil. I'm going to just use H for hard. And we're just going to use a pencil to reintroduce that. Now, I've got choices. I can overlay it and I can just reintroduce it that way, or I could just trace it in, just draw it in, I mean. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is just draw in, reintroduce the kachina like that. And then we'll just put her back in because she's lost her form. But she's really beautiful. Let's have a look. And I can look here, see, And if I'm not sure what I'm doing, some of it I can see, it's still there, but some of it I need to just, I'm sure we've got some leaves here. There we are, look. There we are. There's another one there. Hey, lovely, eh? So all I'm doing is reintroducing the line art. There we are. And it's great because the watercolor gives you your exact outline, see? So we've got a little bird there. Bird, tail. There we are, legs. Nice. So we're learning how this liquid frisket works, or liquid masking fluid. It certainly does work well. On Thursday evening, we're doing a craft along, aren't we, together? If you fancy it. It's free. Just got to turn up, 7 o'clock, and we're going to do a craft along. And I was going to use, oh, hello. I was going to use, see, that's another thing with the watercolor. Like, I like this. It doesn't rub away when you use an eraser. Don't rub too hard. If you've taken the top of the paper away, then of course it will be gone. Yeah, so if you fancy coming along to the craft along on Thursday, we're going to use some, I thought it'd be nice to use some liquid masking tape and a stencil. So I'm going to teach you a couple of tricks. There we go. What have we got here? Alrighty. Okay. So I'm just looking at the dress. So I want to reintroduce that. I can change it. I don't have to go with this. I can do whatever I fancy. But I'm going for leaves because it's autumn, because I've just been in the woods for a week. I tell you what, the leaves, the colours, and why go to Vermont when, wow, the colours of the leaves at the moment, it's insane, isn't it? Oh, absolutely breathtaking. I don't know whether my eyes have just been open because I spent a week in the woods and I've been not nose to the grindstone at work, you know, but it's like a filter's been lifted out of my eyes and I can just see these phenomenal colours. Just beautiful. And, you know, another thing, this was really fascinating. Because we were going to the course, every morning we had a routine. See, I don't usually have that strict a routine with work because sometimes I'm here, sometimes I'm a hobby maker, sometimes I'm working from the garage. So it's all different times, you know, schedules. But when we were doing that course, it was very, very rigorous because we had to be there at 9 o'clock to start for 9:30 latest, right? So we left home at 8:30 every morning. And what I found, and this was really interesting, we saw the same woman walking the dog. We saw the same lady jogging in the same street. I saw the same old man standing at the bus stop. You know, just observation, the routines of life. I saw the same woman getting in her car outside the farm, always at the same time. And I found that really interesting. Life routines, you know, the same bus, same dog, same walker, same jogger, boom, same car. There was a really posh German Tesla, big Porsche, big car, not a Tesla, a Porsche, but it was electric. Couldn't miss it. It was like a tank. We saw it 3 times. It pulled out the same road in front of us at the same time. It was like really like robots, you know. That was quite interesting because I don't usually see any of that. I'm usually nose to the grindstone. I'm not looking. I'm on my phone, checking what the bank's doing, checking if we're okay, checking, right? And for a week, I just parked it. Just thought, it will survive a week without me. And it has. It's flourishing. There you go, abundance. You see? And so, yeah, that habit thing, you know, because we got there at 9 o'clock every morning. We weren't the first. We weren't the first, but we were not the last either. And then, and it went until 5:30. We got home at 6 o'clock every evening. That's how long we worked, you know. No wonder my shoulder hurts. So, skirt, here we go. So there's a little ridge there. So I think that I'm going to go, there's a ridge there. So I'm going to use the ridges. That's how good this, it's going a bit closer so you can see it. That's how good this liquid masking tape is. It literally shows you every single, look, see? Every single little mark, exactly as we drew it, exactly as we painted it, is exactly as it comes. That's pretty cool, isn't it? So I'm just reintroducing now. See, we can put these ones, we didn't cover them up because they're going to be, that's going to be inked. Skirt, that's done. Little mouth. Should we do a little cheeky smile? There we go. And see, because I'm using a hard pencil as well, that helps. There we are. So let me see, are there any? Let me just have a quick look at the comments. Okay. I haven't been able to look at the comments. The draw knife. Same as the spoke shave. I got no idea, Lynn. That was the other thing, right? That was something. Now that was interesting as well. Because I assume nothing. When you come to my courses, I assume nothing. But I do assume that you know what an ink pad is and what a stamp is. But other than that, I assume that you're not a seasoned crafter. And then that way, without being patronizing, I cover all bases. Especially now we're getting into the realm of mixed media and acrylic paint and gel press and mono printing, yada, yada, yada. I'm not going to assume, you know, I try not to assume anything. But when you go on a woodworking course to make a chair with a bunch of blokes, there's a basic assumption that you know what a draw knife is, and you know what a is, and what a linisher is, and what a this is and that is. And I hadn't got a clue. I knew what a chisel was, you know. I know what a paintbrush is. I know how glue works, you know, but all these different names for all these different tools, you know. And so the teacher was just saying, you need this to do that, and you need that to do that. And I'd straight away, I was with Dave. So I looked at Dave, and it was that little point me in the right direction, Dave, because there's really different tools for every job, you know, expensive as well. And so do I know whether a draw knife is that? I have no idea, but I bet Dave does, you know. It was just, again, you can, that's a lesson I learned a long time ago, assume nothing. Lillian, I have a lovely collection of leaves. Okay, so last night, you're going to think I'm mad, but last night I went looking for leaves, and I actually spent a happy hour pulling monoprints on my gel plate using leaves. Yeah, I felt that I wanted to improve it before I share it with you. I want to experiment a little more, or get the right, you know, before I go, blah, this is it. I want to make sure that I'm delivering informative demonstrations, right? So it was a little bit dark. I mean, I liked it, but it was a little bit grungy, a little bit dark. And I thought, no, I need to lighten that up. And I know how to lighten it up. Then it was 9 o'clock in the evening, I run out of time. And I thought, that's okay, because today at 2 o'clock, we're going to be looking at the elementary and the bow wad papers. And I've already done so much demo work on that I wouldn't have time to do that as well. So I thought, I'll save that for another day. I'll do that on another day, you know. Top tip though, do what Lillian did and go and get some leaves and sandwich them in between newspaper or just flat book. Let them dry out a little bit. They'll be fantastic for pulling prints down the road. Until such time, we're going to use our tree stamps, which are absolutely glorious. The elementary ones. So I've got the Bowwad papers at 2 o'clock, the elementary ones, the beautiful finished printed card prints things that Jazz and I did together when we went to Brighton and did our courses. So I've got loads of lovely stuff to show you at 2 o'clock. Yeah, Lillian, that's what she wants to do. Precisely. It's cool. Less is more. That's all I'll say. Less is more. Right. So the next thing I want to do is show you. Paul's just reminded me there's a cheeky price on the elementary collection. There's a very cheeky price on the elementary collection. So that might be worth taking a look at as well. But we'll be with you at 2 o'clock. So let me just pan out a little bit because I want to get this. Is that out? Am I out far enough? I might come out a little bit further just for now. Right. So I wanted to show you, you know, like when we use masks, usually we put a mask on, don't we? But this one, it's got the masking tape, the masking fluid. So it's the same thing, but it's the masking fluid, you see? So this is dried. And then I was thinking, right, what about if we put, instead of using watercolour paint, because we did that last time, how about we use something else we got in the cupboard? Something else we got in the cupboard, which is ink. So I started having a go. I used this, I need to clean that really. I used my blending mat for the hills. So I thought, perfect, absolutely perfect. So you can cut a piece of paper and you can use ink to off a piece of paper. But the thing is that the ink on a piece of paper soaks in. So you'll find you don't get a real good result. I'll show you what I just did quickly before we went live today. I just wanted to check that I was doing it right. So you see I used this is an A3 one. I used that decal edge there. Then I turned it round and I started using, see, so I used the edge of this to make my hills. See, with different colours. I thought it came out nice. I like it. I like it. And I thought, right, now that I want to do behind her. And I only had one of her, so I couldn't do a, here's one I did earlier, because I've been busy making chairs. So I'm going to have to wing it. And I reckon that this will work fine. So if it doesn't, well, you learned it here. Okay, so what we'll do is, this is kind of what I'm going to do. What inks am I going to use? Well, I'll probably use any inks I've got in the cupboard here. So I've got loads of these. I've got distress inks, and then I've also got some distress oxides. How do you tell the difference? The distress inks are dye-based, they've got black. The distress oxides are chalky, they've got the grey around the outside. Right, so these are chalky, these are not, these are watery. So, but they're both water soluble, they're not permanent ink pads. So just bear with me a second. Oh, I don't want to lean on there. Right, hang on a minute, let me just move this over this way. Oh, that might be a good one. Different colourways. I just want to get my lovely artwork out of the way so I don't coat that in ink. Right, so that way I've got my ink pads here. I didn't realise until I did this course. I know I'm systematic. I'm definitely a systems girl, right? I know that. But I didn't realise how rigorously regimented, like it has to be, you know. I'm not slapdash. I'm the other end of slapdash, but try not to take myself too seriously, you know. I think it's important. I'm not going to worry about the outcome. I'm just going to enjoy the process. Do you see? And I'll focus on the process, trust that it works. If it doesn't, well, then I learned something, didn't I? Right, so I've got my girl there, and what I'm going to do is, so now I've got to decide, right, in my mind's eye, I've got to decide where I'm going to put the green just there under her feet. She's standing on the green bit. So I'm going to do this. Oh, I tell you what I do need. Yes, she does. I'm going to need that so I don't put ink all over the counter. All right. And then the other thing is, I feel that it helps if it doesn't move while I'm working. Okay, so a little bit of masking tape. So this afternoon at 2 o'clock, Paul and I will be together, and we'll be doing the elementary, the leaves. Really lovely. I do like them. And as soon as I came in, I said to Jazz, we've got to do a Christmas set of leaves, you know, like elementary Christmas. So she's already on it. I said, go for a walk and find some holly. Right, so green, I think I'll go with peeled paint. That will do. I'm not going to overcook this, but this is where, let's have a look. And I need the same old, spot on sponges and a brush and an ink pad, and then we'll go for it. It was interesting. I saw on Facebook, I think it was this weekend, somebody had written, it was quite funny the way she put it. She said, I've just done some artwork, and she said, and I used spot on sponges for the first time. And she said, they are a game changer. It's funny, she wrote something like, they are a game changer, and I don't understand why I didn't listen to you when you kept going on about them. I thought that was so funny. When you kept going on about them. Oh, yeah, don't dress it up. Right, let's have a look if this works. So I'll do that, and then see all the ink on here. I'll smooth that off. And that way, see what this does is, it gets in those gaps. So I'm going to do that one first. Right, and then smooth it out. Okay, that'll do. And if I want it to be darker, this is the darkening. So if I want it to be dark around her feet, this is the way to do it. Okay, let's see if it works. Okay, don't want to rub too hard, so I've got a feeling I might mess it up. So now I've done that, so I'll leave that, I'm going to leave that tape there. Have you noticed my autumnal blouse? So this blouse has got a story. I love it. Look, see? Look, cornucopia in the middle. Right? Do you see how symmetrical it is? You don't get clothes like this anymore. I bought this in Germany. I bought this in Germany when I was 25 years old. Don't call me a hoarder. I hang on to nice stuff. 25 years old. I bought it in Nuremberg in a little boutique. I bought 2 of them. I'll wear the other one this week. This one's the light one. I've got a darker one. But what fascinates me as a closet fashion designer was that this side matches that side. Look, see? I'll show you on the back. I think it does too. You see? I know. Yeah. So when you button it up, the 2 halves, that takes some doing as a seamstress. And all the sleeves, everything matches. Look, the sleeves are symmetrical. This blouse is over 40 years old. I know, and it still fits me, which is a bit of a result. I noticed I lost a button though. I have to repair that. Yeah, and I did tell Dave, in the 80s when I used to wear it in Deutschland, it had the old power shoulders. You know, the old, do you remember in the 80s we used to wear the big shoulders? So I took them out because I felt like that wasn't quite cash enough for me, right? but it didn't look good. But there you go. So that is a 45-year-old blouse. If that's not vintage, I don't know what is. I know, it's older than Grace. It's funny, isn't it? But I never wanted to throw it away because the design, why would you? Why would you throw it away? The design is immaculate, you know? And for autumn, I thought, oh, that would be perfect. Right, so I'm just cleaning that off. Now I'm going to turn it round. And then I'm gonna go to this one. And again, see, that holds it in place. So then I'm going to decide where I want to go with my, whether I want to go there or there. See, I can turn it round. I've got choices. I think that's quite cool, like that. Sandwich that. That's holding it in place now. And now, if I go over the green with a different colour, I'm not fussed. I'm not worried about that. I'm going to go with it. I've forgotten brushes from home, so I'm using the ones at the office. Let's have a look here. Right, so colour, colour, colour. I'm going to go with tea dye. That will do. And then I might add a little bit of orange, only because tea dye is quite brown, isn't it? Okay, that'll do. See, so you load it here. It's like using masks. Right, here we go. So on Thursday night, there's a download for what you're going to need for the craft along. Let's have a look what we got here. Don't want to make it too bright. Orange. Tea light. Right, let's have a look. So I want to just go through there so it's not... I reckon this will look great. There you are. So let's see. And then we'll take the spot on sponge and then we'll just get in that edge there. I can't wait to clean. I hope it works. Well, do you know what? This is it. I hope it works, right? If it doesn't, then I learned something, right? I made a mistake and I learned something. That's a positive. That's not a fail, you know. And I think that that's where we as makers, once you can get over that whole, oh, I messed it up. I'm a failure. No, you're not. You just learned something, right? You just learned something, friend. You didn't mess anything up. Your inquiring mind. In fact, I'm going to turn that around. My inquiring mind says that wants to be. No, that doesn't look right. You really, you got to stop worrying about. That's it. I think I'm going to go there like that. Like that. That'll be great. Right. Holds it down. This time I think I'll go with a contrasting colour. You've got to kind of just embrace it. And if you ever think to yourself, oh, this is too much for me, just try and imagine me in the woods with 9 blokes who, you know, that's the other thing is, these guys, one was a furniture maker, you know what I mean? These are all guys, these are people that do this for a living. So, or they've done it before. Or, so if I can do that, and I wasn't sweating, I wasn't worried. If I got it wrong, I got it wrong, you know. But I was very careful to try and avoid any mistakes just by being focused. And I think, you know, you got to just give it a go. Be prepared to fail. Be prepared to mess it up. Don't worry about it. What's the worst that can happen? Oh, do you know what? I think I might try a bit of peacock. I think I'm going to put a bit of that in there as well, but maybe not on this layer. Right. Just a bit of blue. I used a bit of weathered wood here. I think a bit of weathered wood is going to go good there. That's it. Weathered wood. So I'm trying not to go over the edge there. See? So otherwise it looks a bit weird. So I'm just bringing it in like that. Weird, as Linda Williams would say. Weird. Very weird. I hope this works. And do you know what? Then I've got to just put the See how it comes off though? Look how it smears off. So if it smears off, it means it's got to work. But I'm excited to try it. There you go. So we'll take that one off there. Looking good? So, should we turn it around and have a look? Love, love, love. Right, I think we need a couple of more hills. Right, I'm going for that one now. Again, stick it down. See, and it holds it, which makes it easy. Now, what colour am I going to go for? I'm thinking I need another green. I wonder whether, do you think, I wonder whether a little bit of peacock oxide, see what that green looks like. I've mixed it up with a blue. All right, give it a go. Give it a go. Maybe not the right colour, but that's all right. We'll give it a go. This is how you learn. So Paul has I think he has a download. I've got a list here of what you need for Thursday. And then on Saturday as well, all day, I'm doing an online course with Alcohol Ink and Gel Press, mixed media. It's really cool. I think you really enjoy it. If you haven't signed up for it and you fancy spending a day with me on Saturday, it's an online course, costs a few bob, but it's all day. I think it's about 60 quid, but it's all day, and we get together online from 9 to 12, and then we've still got plenty of time to send you the map, the booklet, and you will let you know what you need. We'll rush it through for you so you can join us. We go from 9 to 12, then we have a little lunch break, and then we come back and we carry on in the afternoon. So it'd be a really lovely way to spend a day with you, with your good selves. So that's Saturday. Thursday evening, we're going to get together for a free craft along. That'll be nice. Let me try a bit of blue in there. I think it's a bit of a funny colour, this. So I messed it up, but I can always tone it down. That'd be nice. See if that worked. Let's have a look. Take that off there. Oh no, actually that's rather lovely. And then I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to do one more. I'm going to do a blue. I think I want to do a blue like there to balance. But that I'm not going to use that one. I think I'll use. What have I got here? What about? Let's try a bit of pink. I know you must think she's lost it. Actually, lilac. There you go. Let's try this one. Shaded lilac. See what that gives us. Try that one over the top, and then we'll do a little bit of a red sunburst. That'll do. So this is nice. So it's a light colour, isn't it? See, and if you use the brushes, you can go really tight on this. I know I've overcooked it. I know it's past 11 o'clock, and I know I've got to get ready for 2 o'clock, but that's okay. Project completion. I really do want to see what it looks like when we rub out the. So I don't want to do this again next Monday. I want to get on the road. We need to keep going. There you go. I think that'll do. Righty ho. See, I like that because it kind of balances that one out. And then if we wanted to, see, whatever you do, you've got to do it now before you finish. You can't, see, if you want to do a bit of red. So if we cover this up, let's see if we cover this up a bit. What can I do? That's covering up enough, like that. So now I need to cover that up a bit. Let me just pop that there like that. Just hold it in place while I'm working, like so. And I just want to put a bit of red there, like that. Just a bit of red, because I think that will look nice. There's a bit of a, look, I've already tried it. It's not rocket science. Right there, that'll be nice. Let's do this one. And I'm just going to put a little bit of red through there. Now, what red did I use? I think I used something like barn door. Just stay there a minute. That'll do. Barn door. So I'm holding it so it doesn't slide. Right. So I just thought it'd be nice to see how far down I'm working. Right, be nice to see how this looks. Let me just check. Bring it down a bit. That's it, otherwise it's got a weird white mark. That's all right, I can sort that out with a sponge. Let's put a bit of red behind her as well. Hey? I think we want to put a bit of red behind her. So move the mask along. I reckon this will go well. So that we see a contrast when we take her away. Otherwise, we don't see a contrast, do we? Yeah, see? And that's the thing. It's funny when you know what it's like when you get in your art room and you start to concentrate and I don't know about you, but I get in the zone and I'm in my absolute element. And I say to Dave, oh, just be about 10 minutes. And he knows that I'm going to be at least 4 or 5 hours. There. You just got to find your passion, haven't you? You've got to find the artwork that does it for you. Hey? Right. So I've done, to the best of my ability, I've done a nice background using just our big blending mat, which is a cracking piece of kit. Right, now let's see if this works, okay? And if it doesn't, we learn something that it doesn't work on stencil card. Can't see why it wouldn't, but let's see. I need a clean finger. Get in there, and let's see if I rub this away. Now, let's see if I just get going. This is the best bit. Oh yeah, look, it works like a charm. Ink's dry. Come on in. Oh, hang on. Let's come in a bit closer. Sorry about that. Let's see if we come in a bit closer so you can see what I'm actually doing. Right. See, so I'm using my finger and I'm just rubbing really gently, just round the edge. See? Look. And as you rub it, it gets rid of the masking fluid. There we are. See? And what's really nice, look, no marks underneath. Any drawing that we did is gone underneath. But look how beautiful. Yeah, no, this is basic stuff. For a lot of people, you'll say, oh, yeah, well, I know all this. You know, that's great. But for a lot of people, they won't know this. And that's where I say, never assume that everybody knows what you know, because that's that's an untruth, you know. There you go. And we get rid of these little ones. Look, doesn't that look smashing? And then I take my pencil and then I reintroduce all those things. There you go. And everything's back where it was supposed to be. Look. And you can redraw her just as she was intended. And you can use a pen. I will use a pen. I will use a pen and I will finish her off. And then I'll make her dress absolutely perfect. So I wonder, have we got one more Monday in us to make her beautiful? Because I think we need to make her beautiful. We've done the background. Don't you think that we should at least, come on, bit of project completion. I've got to finish my chair. I've got to put a bit of oil on it. I'm not just going to say, right, that's it, that'll do. Because I think, no, decision made. Next Monday, we finish the Kachina doll. And then we've done our job to completion. Okay? Agreed? I think so. I think, yeah, that's definitely got to be what we do. So on Monday next week, we'll ink her and colour her and finish this beautiful artwork and this one. So we got one watercolour and one inky background. And I think that will be absolutely marvellous. And then just to finish on, I'll just give you this so you can see what's coming up this week. 2 o'clock, we're going to be doing those lovely elementaries. Tomorrow, Tuesday, 10 o'clock and 2 o'clock. That's Louise. It's my mum's birthday tomorrow, so I'm off to see mum. Thursday, let me see, 7 o'clock, calendar craft along with Barbara. And that's the download to tell you everything that you need. Crikey, really? I better get my act together then. Okay, so is that right? That seems like a lot. Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, okay. Paul will give you the link for that. Then we've got Friday the 17th, Clarity Social TV with Louise. And then Paul's on Hobby Maker again at 2 o'clock and 5 o'clock. And then on Saturday, there's an all-day workshop with Barbie, alcoholing on a gel plate paid event. So there you go. That's what's going on at Clarity this week. I hope that you enjoyed our start to the week. I love Monday mornings with you. It just sets the tone for the week. Okay, so have a fantastic week. Make something. Be creative. Don't be afraid of failing. Don't be afraid of making a mistake. I honestly, that's the way to learn, is to not get it wrong, but to learn from your mistakes. And we hear this and it goes in one ear and out the other, but it's the way it works. Okay, so lots of love to you, and I'll see you at 2 o'clock with Paul. Bye bye now. Thanks for your help, Paul. Bye bye.